The winter of 1877 was bitter cold in the Provo Bench. For Irish immigrants Thomas and Mary Ann Benson Cordner and their children, it was just another challenge. That year, they became the first white family to stay in their summer cabin throughout the winter. For several years, the Cordners and other settlers traveled each spring and summer from their homes in Provo to farm the rocky bench soil. Then the Cordners sold their Provo home and established a place in history. The Cordners built their cabin of wooden slabs seamed with 3-inch butting. To prepare for winter, Mary Ann cut overall strips and pasted them over the wooden seams on the inside with flour paste. The wind often blew the stripping loose, and several times that winter they woke to find 1 or 2 inches of snow on the floor. At night, their only daughter Mary would read to the family in front of the open stove. The Cordners were proud of their 4-candle mold, but tallow was not always available to make candles. And kerosene, although cheap as dirt, was still too expensive that first winter. To see about the room, they tied a button to a string and set it in a dish of grease. The light was adequate, but the smell was obnoxious. In Ireland, Tom had been a linen weaver, but in this new land he became the first settler to experiment with raising raspberries and strawberries commercially. Folks were crazy over the taste of the berries and traveled some distances to purchase them while waiting for the larger fruit to mature. The venture established Cordner's reputation as business people. Once, while traveling from Provo to the bench, Mary Ann dropped her coin purse through the floorboard of the wagon. It contained $3. D. Carter found it, and although there was no identification in it, lost no time in returning it to Mary Ann. He said he knew no one on the bench except the Cordners who would carry that much cash. When the Cordners arrived in Utah in October of 1872, they had 3 sons and a daughter. Thomas, their eldest, died in Ireland. They brought Mary, Robert, William, James, and Stephen. Stephen, very ill from the journey, died in 1873 at the age of 1 year, shortly after arriving in Salt Lake City. John and Samuel were born in 1874 and 1876, respectively, while the family lived in Provo. Alexander was born March 17, 1879, and became the first white child born on the Provo Bench. Their last child, Arthur, was born in 1881. Cordner and his sons helped cut timber in Pole Canyon to be used for construction. They would slide the logs over the snow into the river, then ride them downstream to keep them from getting jammed. Some of the logs were used to build a 1-room schoolhouse on the same lot where Spencer School was built on 800 South. Spencer School was later condemned and torn down in the late 1980s. The Cordners were proud of their old rifle, which was bored out and made into a shotgun. The boys used it for duck hunting, but it was tricky. It took 2 boys to handle it. After the powder was tamped into it, Bob Cordner would aim the rifle at the ducks while Jim would touch it off with a piece of burning sagebrush. Amazing as it seems, they often bagged 2 or 3 ducks. The gun, however, had a powerful kick if the powder wasn't tamped in just right. Tom Cordner's grandson, Jesse, tells of the grandchildren loading it and shooting it from the threshold of Robert's old stone wagon shed. One grandchild was kicked so hard he rolled about 15 feet. It also set the granary on fire. Tom Cordner and his boys were also on hand to lay the cornerstone and help build the Timpanogos Ward Chapel for the Mormon Church. It was started in 1865 and completed in 1896. The brick for the amusement hall was hauled by a wagon team from the old torn-down Vineyard School. Tom also helped build the first small canal to bring water onto the bench. He became one of the directors of the Provo Bench Canal and Irrigation Company and was one of the signers of the Articles of Corporation in February of 1887. The Cordners were known for faith, industry, and honesty. Their story is not unique. but it is representative of the courage, vision, and cooperative effort displayed by early settlers in forming a foundation for the flourishing community we enjoy today, and where several of the Cordner descendants still choose to live. Tom died at the age of 65 on May 18, 1901, from injuries sustained when he was thrown from a buggy when a spooked horse plunged buggy and all over a steep embankment on Carterville Road. Mary Ann died September 23, 1920, at the age of 82.